We'll discuss race and how it plays a factor, and how we didn't even talk about this topic because we were afraid.
A Black Executive Perspective.
Welcome to BEP Live on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Tony Tidbit.
And I'm Chris P. Reed. And here we cut through the noise and get straight to what matters: power, politics, culture, leadership, and the moment shaping our lives right now. Live with you. No filter, no safe takes, just honest dialogue and real accountability. Let's get into it.
Yes, let's definitely get into it. So today, we're asking the question that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Is Black History Month still necessary? As you guys know, every February, corporations post quotes, schools highlight the same 4 or 5 names we've heard a million times. Politicians come out of the woodwork and give statements. And then we also have the same counter arguments that resurface. Why isn't there a White History Month? Shouldn't history just be history? Right? And as we're having this conversation today, we also lost a major figure in the civil rights movement last night, Jesse Jackson, who passed away at 85 years old. So tonight isn't just about a month on the calendar. It's about memory, it's about visibility, and it's about whether this country still understands why Black History Month exists in the first place. And more importantly, whether it serves a purpose.
All right, well, let's jump into it.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy.
All right, so, one of the things is, before we get everything going, Black History Month, is it still necessary? Do we understand how it started? I know you brought that up. It wasn't a random situation. It wasn't a marketing campaign. Before, it was Black History Month, it was actually 1926, long time ago. This was before the stock market crash.
100 years.
Before the stock market crash. A gentleman named Carter G. Woodson came up with Negro History Week. And he had a simple concern that we would not be left out, Black contributions being erased from American history as a whole, textbooks and things like that we see. He was a prophet, obviously, because he had that thought a long time ago. One of his quotes is, "Negro History Week is the brief period of time where we reflect on what we've learned about the Negro for the entire year." So it wasn't even at the time thought of until the 70s to be a month, at that point. But go ahead.
So buddy, why don't we just play a quick little clip so we can educate everybody on what Black History Month is about?
Let's get to it. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
How did this holiday come to be, and why do we celebrate it this month? We're breaking it down for you with Black History Month Simply Explained.
While Black History Month can be commemorated all year, in North America, it's marked every February. Put simply, Black History Month was created to ensure the contributions of Black Americans were integrated into school curriculums and communities across the country. Quick history lesson. In 1926, Carter G. Woodson, with his organization, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, initiated Negro History Week in February.
How did we end up with the shortest month?
That's a great question. Dr. Woodson wanted to acknowledge President Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and Frederick Douglass was a public intellectual, and both people garnered the respect among African Americans.
But it wasn't until 1976 that the week expanded to a month, following the lobbying efforts of Woodson and his organization, with President Gerald Ford declaring the observance of Black History Month.
Black history is not just about Black excellence, right?
Absolutely. Black history is a moment to reflect on all of the nuances and particularly the richness of Black history.
Among notable moments of Black history in the decades to follow, in the 80s, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday became a federal holiday, and Congress designated February National Black History Month. In the 90s, the brutal beating of a Black man, Rodney King, by law enforcement and the subsequent verdict heightened concerns about systemic police violence. The Million Man March a few years later embodied Black political power and resistance. In the 2000s, major political strides, with Colin Powell selected as the first black U.S. Secretary of State and Barack Obama sworn in as the first African-American president in U.S. history. The 2010s marked the founding of the Black Lives Matter movement after a black teenager, Trayvon Martin, was killed. More recently, global protests following George Floyd's murder by a white police officer reignited a civil rights movement. Juneteenth became a U.S. federal holiday, all as the country's culture wars intensified over the teaching of black history altogether.
There's a saying in the culture, making a way out of no way. African Americans will find a way to acknowledge the contributions, the efforts of their people time and time again.
So yeah, buddy, as you saw here, right? At the end of the day, you know, Black history was not being taught universally in all schools, right? In all situations. It was excluded from curriculum. And so mainstream had no clue in terms of the successes and the things that Black Americans brought to the country. So Black inventors, business leaders, scholars, and soldiers were invisible. Most people knew about slavery, but that was basically it, right? So, you know, like you said, Carter Woodson wanted this month to be about inclusion, not about division. It was really about, hey, America, look at the contributions that Black Americans have contributed to the country even before the country was formed. Okay, so but let's get back to the root of what we were talking about. Is Black History Month still needed, right? Because let's be fair, if Black history was fully integrated, okay, year round, then would February or Black History Month need to exist?
What happens is when you start having those conversations, we get the whatabouts, right? Well, what about this group? And what about that? So, you know, of course, you know, we have Women's History Month and Asian American Pacific Islanders Month and Gay Pride Month and different like that. So in the concept of, well, does everybody need a month? Does a month need to happen? What happens is they water down the importance or the prestige of it by saying, well, if we giving it, then anybody can get it. You know, why can't everybody get their own month? You know what I mean? And that becomes the issue. That's the argument.
Right. Here's the thing, though, bro. And so, so think about it for a second. I'm just going by what you just got finished saying. Well, you know, you have Asian Pacific Month, you have a Latino month, you have all these different months. So, but let's go back to the real reason why we asked the question. Why is it that there are months when it should be all of it should be just taught universally versus breaking it up in months, right?
Absolutely.
The reason it's broken up in months because at the end of the day, it's not taught. Okay, and let's be fair. Even Black history, and as we read the monologue, right? The same 4 or 5 people show up, you know, Rosa Parks. We can name the people that we hear over and over again. We don't dive deep into it, right? I'm just talking from a general history standpoint. Now, let's throw in Asian Pacific. What history do you hear about them?
Right.
You hear nothing, right?
Nothing.
Let's throw in Latino. What history you hear about? Nothing. We can go into all the other groups that have come and contributed to the United States. And when the universal history is being taught in schools, what are we talking about? Grade school, elementary, middle school, high school, there's like a 2% taught on other groups. It's probably more history from a European standpoint, okay, versus the history of, you know, all the other communities, and specifically we talk about Black History Month, right? So at the end of the day, Black History Month wouldn't exist if regular history was being taught all year round, right? So, you know, let me ask you this. Let's go to the, you know, we got the audience. Number one, we want to thank you guys for participating, joining. We want to hear from you, right? We definitely want to hear from you. So this is not just Chris and I throwing some stuff out. We want to hear your thoughts in the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. And I'd like to remind the audience, I have a degree in history from Illinois State University on the wall. Never took a Black history course. when I got my degree. It was not part of any. It wasn't required. I had to take constitutional. I had to take European history to 1865. I had to take mercantilism. All these other things that were required from a major university, from a Division I university, to get a degree in history. At no point in time did they even recommend in the syllabus that I dabble into Black history at all. It wasn't part of what was required to even receive a degree.
Right, right. So let's hear from the audience. Let's ask them a couple of questions.
So, as far as what I would like to hear from the audience is, do you believe that Black history is selectively told? Do you think that they pick and choose, like Tony said, the top 5 or the top 3, and then say that's enough? That's enough. That's enough credit there. We don't need this thing to go too far.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, we love to hear your thoughts. Do you think that we should get rid of Black History Month and history should be taught year round? Or do you believe that, hey, based on we know that's not going to happen, so we need to continue to have Black History Month? What's your thoughts on that? And while we wait for your thoughts, last night was also a major thing when we talk about Black History Month. Right, my brother? Last night.
I think so.
Didn't we lose somebody?
We did. Yeah. The leader of Black people. He's the de facto leader. As far as my youth growing up, that he was the de facto representative of us all because of the presidential runs and things of that nature. And I'm not saying it wasn't well founded, but what I am saying is, it was. What did they refer to Jesse Jackson? Did they go and talk to Jesse Jackson? About what was going on with us, as if one person can represent us all, similar to how the president doesn't necessarily represent all the white views of this country, or had never represented all the white views. That's why we have parties and things of that nature. But, another school of thought, though, Tony, was one of the things that I had heard this month is the the anxiety or the monopolizing of Black History Month by African Americans. So in the clip that you portrayed, it was talking about the Negro experience, the African American experience as far as the Negro Week, right? But since then, the country was founded by immigrants and things of that nature. We have so many people that have come over the Caribbean. The people from, so should I not celebrate Nelson Mandela during Black History Month? You know what I mean? Is it just for people who are identified as American or nationalized American Africans in that regard, or Black folks in America? Because we got the Dominicans, we have brothers and sisters all over the world. I don't know if it's a lot of Black folks in Russia, but what I'm saying? But other than that, we everywhere. We everywhere. So I don't know if they get a chance to celebrate.
Yeah, I get that though. But we're talking United States here, buddy, right? And so talking about educating, mainstream America of the accomplishments Black Americans have done here, right? So yeah, I get it. There's people from the Caribbean and this and that, but at the end of the day, we know. So if they're not talking if they're not teaching Black history, they're definitely not teaching Caribbean history.
Right.
Establish that, right? They're not teaching Pacific. They're not teaching none of that, right? So that's why you have you said it. That's why you have the months, right? But let's do this before we dive too deep. I still want to pay homage to Jesse Jackson, okay? Because at the end of the day, he did have an extraordinary life. And so I don't think most people today really don't understand what Jesse Jackson, where he came from, what was he about. Plus, he's been out of the limelight over the last several years because of his health. So let's pay homage to Jesse Jackson since he passed away today.
How did this holiday come to be, and why do we celebrate it this month? We're breaking it.
Wrong one.
That's
Here
right.
we go.
Ed O'Keefe looks back on Jackson's life and legacy. Ed, good morning to you.
Gail, good to see you. Good morning. For decades, Jackson was a powerful and sometimes polarizing voice for change, emerging from the civil rights movement of the 1960s to become a national political figure and champion for marginalized communities across the country.
The people must unite to save humanity.
The preacher, civil rights activist, and presidential candidate was born in Greenville, South Carolina in 1941.
I was born next door to a white church. I could only attend as a janitor.
In his 20s, Jesse Jackson gained national attention as an aide to Martin Luther King Jr. and a leader of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
A shot cracked out from across the street, dropping him to the floor.
He was in Memphis on April 4th, 1968, when King was assassinated.
The white people's best friend is dead.
King's murder sparked tension between Jackson and other civil rights leaders as they struggled over who would lead their movement. Ultimately, Jackson launched his own organizations that later became the Rainbow Push Coalition, still advocating today for black economic and political empowerment.
We shall fight this institutional racism wherever we see it.
He also became an international hostage negotiator. In 1984, he helped win the release of an American pilot from Syria. Later, he'd broker freedom for Americans held in Cuba, Iraq, and Kosovo.
To the White House!
His activism and diplomacy buoyed Jackson's first campaign for president in 1984.
We do not just need a new president, we need a new direction. Our leaders are talking too little to too many leaders in this world.
Jackson ended up placing a stronger than expected